He was sitting in his luxurious office on the 28th floor when they walked in. The very same people who had bullied him in school, humiliated him, laughed in his face, so sure that he would never amount to anything. Now they were nervously adjusting their ties, asking him for a job, completely unaware of who was sitting before them. But what happened next would change their lives forever. Let's start from the very beginning. This channel won't survive without your subscription and likes. Help me! A small town in Georgia. The hallways of the high school echo with mocking laughter and insults. 14-year-old Jamal Williams, a tall, skinny black teenager with short, curly hair, clenches his fists as he's shoved against the wall again. Brandon, Chad, and Trevor, 3 white boys from wealthy families, laugh loudly, pointing at his torn backpack.
"Did you really think you could be one of us?"
Brandon sneers, the cockiest of the trio.
"Black kids are only here to carry our water."
The crowd freezes. No one intervenes. Teachers turn away, pretending not to see the bullying. Jamal grits his teeth but says nothing. He's learned. Silence helps you survive. All year they torment him, slipping racist notes into his locker, trashing his stuff, calling him names, making him feel like an outcast. But the worst moment comes on prom night. Jamal, a straight-A student who won a school scholarship for business studies, steps onto the stage. The moment he grabs his diploma, laughter erupts. On the massive screen behind him, a childhood photo appears, but it's been altered. His face has been replaced with that of the school janitor. "This is your future," the caption reads. The crowd roars with laughter. Teachers do nothing. Jamal's eyes burn with rage. 10 years later. Atlanta. The sleek glass skyscraper reflects the city skyline. On the 28th floor, inside a spacious office, sits Jamal Williams. A 24-year-old black man, sharp, fit, his short hair neatly trimmed. He wears a perfectly tailored navy blue suit. His gold cufflinks gleam under the desk lamp. The faint aroma of expensive coffee lingers in the air. But he doesn't drink it. He just stares at the documents in front of him. 3 resumes are spread out on the pristine white desk. Brandon Mason, Chad Walker, Trevor Steele. He recognizes them instantly. But before deciding what to do, Jamal closes his eyes for a second. And the past crashes into him with the same intensity as it did when he was a teenager. The pain he endured. Memories flood back. The rough streets of South Atlanta, where he lived with his mother, who juggled 2 jobs just to survive. Nights when the fridge was empty, but he told his mom he wasn't hungry. Studying under the glow of a street lamp because their electricity had been cut off again. "You'll never make it out of this neighborhood," his teachers had told him. But he believed otherwise. His first step into business was a dream. Starting a small IT company. He was smart. He could code. He had a vision. But door after door slammed in his face. "We're not interested in your services. Sorry, we already have contractors. I don't think this market is for you." But he knew what they really meant. Not for people like you. The first investor he met, an older man with graying temples, looked him up and down, smirked, and said, "A black boy from the hood thinks he can start an IT business? That's cute." Banks denied him loans. Companies refused to trust his startup. Even his so-called friends walked away. His best friend, Marcus, the one they used to dream of business success with, left when Jamal refused to take the easy route. "You won't make it, bro. This world isn't for us." But Jamal didn't quit. He worked as a waiter by day, a warehouse worker by night, and in between he wrote code and searched for clients, surviving on 4 hours of sleep. His first company failed in 6 months. He was left in debt, but he didn't give up. Second attempt, failure. third, fourth. Every time he fell, he got back up. And now, present. Jamal is no longer that kid. JW Tech Solutions, his company. It's growing at an incredible rate. Now, banks offer him loans. Now, investors want to give him money. Now, he decides who gets hired. And in front of him are three names: Brandon, Chad, Trevor. Jamal stares at the screen. To him, they're just three names in a list. Just ordinary candidates he could easily overlook. But he remembers. He remembers how Brandon humiliated him in front of the whole class, how Chad ripped up his notebooks, how Trevor framed him for stealing. Life is a strange thing. Jamal smirks and signs his name next to theirs. He leans back in his chair and looks out the window. Atlanta sprawls before him, a city of opportunities he created for himself. Today is an important day. He's going to meet them again. JW Tech Solutions office, 28th floor conference room. The spacious meeting room carries the faint aroma of coffee, while the wide panoramic windows offer a view of Atlanta, the city that once spat in his face, but now looks up to him. Seated behind a massive glass table is Jamal Williams, dressed in a navy blue suit that fits his toned physique perfectly. His gold cufflinks catch the morning sunlight. He leans back in his leather chair, fingers interlocked, his gaze calm yet unwavering. The clock reads 10:00 a.m. The door opens. Three men step inside. They've changed, but that doesn't mean they've been forgotten. Brandon enters first, adjusting a suit that doesn't quite fit. He looks heavier, with the beginnings of a double chin, and there's a shadow of anxiety in his eyes. Chad follows, hunched over. His bald head gleams under the office lights, and his hands tremble slightly as he tugs at his tie, as if trying to steady himself. Trevor is the last to walk in. His steps are heavy, his movements slow. His face bears the weariness of someone who has fought unseen battles for far too long. They sit across from him. Their gazes are tense. They're nervous. They don't recognize him. Of course they don't. To them, he was just that kid, a nobody, the boy from school, not worth remembering. They never truly saw him. But now, everything is different. The first encounter. "Mr. Williams, thank you for this opportunity," Brandon says stiffly. His voice tries to sound confident, but there's hesitation. Jamal doesn't respond. He just looks at them. 1 second. 2. Chad clears his throat and shifts his gaze downward. "We're ready to prove our value to the company," he adds, clasping his hands together. Silence. For a moment, only the ticking of the wall clock fills the room. And then, Jamal nods. He doesn't respond right away. He lets them feel this moment. No anger, no revenge, just reality. This is the intersection of past and present. He could retaliate, humiliate them, kick them out, remind them of every insult. But he doesn't, because he is not them, because revenge is for the weak, because he has grown. "You'll be on a probationary period," he finally says, his voice even and devoid of emotion. "I expect you to work hard." They nod, each in their own way. Brandon, cautiously hopeful; Chad, relieved yet uncertain; Trevor, slowly, as if struggling to believe this is real. They have no idea who he is, but one day they will. Jamal smiles, not out of malice, not out of triumph, just because this moment is the greatest reminder of how far he has come. Hope. 3 months later. JW Tech Solutions runs like a well-oiled machine. The office buzzes with activity, calls, meetings, the rhythmic clatter of keyboards. In the conference room, investors negotiate deals. Across the floors, developers write code. Among the employees, blending into the daily grind, are three familiar faces: Brandon, Chad, Trevor. Once they ruled the high school hallways. He was their victim. Now, they're just employees, and every time he walks past, their eyes betray shame. They don't ask, but they know. They've remembered him. Too late, but they have. At first, it was just a feeling, something familiar about their boss on the top floor. Then, doubt, the name too familiar to ignore. And finally, realization. Shock, shame. The burning, bitter weight of a past they can't outrun. During breaks, they exchange glances, but none of them dare speak first. One honest conversation. Late evening. The office is nearly empty. Only the dim glow of desk lamps illuminates the open workspace. Jamal stands in his office, reviewing paperwork. He's long accustomed to late nights. Work is his life. A soft knock on the door. He looks up. Brandon. Wearing the same cheap suit, but something about him is different. The confidence is gone. What remains is something deeper. "I remember you," he says quietly. Jamal stays silent. Brandon takes a hesitant step forward, running a hand through his hair, uncertain. "We were awful people," he continues. "I was an awful person. I'm sorry." Silence. Jamal studies him for a long time. Then, without emotion, he finally speaks. "You were who you were, Brandon." Brandon freezes. The question is, who are you now? Jamal turns and walks away. No more words are needed. True triumph. He didn't seek revenge. He didn't humiliate them. He didn't mock them, because there was no need to. True victory wasn't in making them his subordinates. It was in proving he had surpassed them. He is not a victim. He built his own life. Final scene. Inspiration. The office is dark, but the city outside glows with light. Skyscrapers, streets, billboards flashing across the skyline. Atlanta belongs to those bold enough to dream. Jamal stands by the window, hands behind his back. His reflection stares back at him. Strong, confident, independent. His thoughts are clear. I created my own future. Inspiration.